The illusion of equal timelines. The error of incomplete comparison. Comparing your current progress to another person's speed assumes you both started at the same point. Equal age does not equal an equal starting position. The hidden machinery. Visible success often rests on unseen support. Early family expectations, early exposure to industry language, access to networks, financial safety nets, and judgment borrowed before mistakes became costly. Diagnosis, not self-betrayal. Your error isn't noticing the gap. It's using an incomplete comparison as proof that you are fundamentally defective. The 5 forms of invisible inheritance. Inheritance is rarely just a bank account. Money is merely the most visible form. The most critical forms of leverage are intangible. Borrowed belief, growing up in an environment where success is assumed, neutralizing early self-doubt. Borrowed language, early exposure to the vocabulary, concepts, and nuances of high-value fields. Borrowed access, built-in warm introductions, professional bridges, and industry entry points. Borrowed time, financial cushions that allow for experimentation, risk-taking, and recovery from failure. Borrowed judgment, advice from experienced mentors that prevents expensive, time-wasting mistakes. Language and the mindset of strategy. Thinking versus translating. Learning a discipline late in life is like speaking a second language. You must translate every concept while others operate fluently in their native tongue. The power of exposure. Warren Buffett didn't just inherit financial concepts. He grew up in a household where markets were discussed naturally. Early exposure framed money as something to be studied and allocated, rather than simply feared or chased. The unsupported entry. Entering the market without early context forces you to manage survival stress, debt anxiety, and unfamiliar vocabulary all at once. The law of terrain versus construction. Machiavelli's half rule. Fortune is the arbiter of 1/2 of our actions. Refusing 2 lies. The first lie, the world is completely fair and everyone starts from the same line. The second lie, fortune dictates everything, making personal effort meaningless. The reality, inheritance dictates the terrain and the initial map. Personal construction dictates how you navigate and build on that terrain. The trap of false acceleration. Copying the surface. Unsupported individuals often rush their timeline by imitating visible symbols of status or success rather than building the underlying structure. The high cost of appearance, announcing plans prematurely, taking uncalculated risks without a safety net, and forcing connections without a clear value proposition lead to structural collapse. Real confidence versus performance. Authentic confidence is the quiet output of internal evidence and financial or operational margin, not performed certainty. The mechanics of access and weak ties. The power of bridges. Research shows that breakthrough opportunities rarely come from your immediate inner circle, which often shares your geographic and socioeconomic limitations. Weak ties as distribution. Opportunity flows through acquaintances, professional links, and moderate connections who have access to information you lack. Access as a mechanism. Network advantages are not moral outcomes, they are structural mechanisms. Instead of judging them, study how to build them. The cold reality of evidence. The world judges signals. As Machiavelli noted, everyone sees what you appear to be. The market does not audit your struggle, private pain, or hidden potential. Hidden value is non-existent value. Unseen capability creates zero leverage. The world responds to clear, measurable, and repeatable evidence. The requirement for evidence. When you lack inherited belief, you cannot request trust on credit. You must manufacture objective proof, manufacturing proof, the Howard Schultz example. Operating without permission. Howard Schultz did not inherit an empire. When his vision for expanding Starbucks was initially rejected, he left to create Il Giornale. Facing rejection, he pitched hundreds of investors and weathered constant rejection to prove the concept in the open market. The power lesson. When belief is not handed to you, you must build a small, operational proof of concept until your vision becomes undeniable. Strategic construction versus bitter stagnation. The anesthesia of resentment. Analyzing someone else's advantages to justify your lack of progress provides emotional comfort, but yields zero structural growth. The blueprint approach. A strategic approach analyzes advantages to identify what missing elements must be manually constructed. Personal responsibility. You are not entitled to anyone else's starting line, but you are fully responsible for managing your own. The role of judgment in saving time. The cost of solo errors. Lack of judgment leads to repeating avoidable mistakes, entering bad partnerships, misreading market incentives, or chasing superficial opportunities. Experience versus judgment. Unguided experience is often just the expensive price tag of missing judgment. Acquiring judgment. When judgment isn't inherited, it must be actively acquired through targeted study, books, strategic advisors, and ruthless self-audit. Foundation 1. Emotional control independence from approval, the ability to execute without external validation, applause, or permission. The risk of fragility. Without emotional stability, a single criticism can derail momentum, causing you to over-explain yourself or abandon slow work prematurely. Resilience under pressure. True emotional independence means feeling market pressure or skepticism without letting it disrupt your execution. Foundation 2. Market-tested skill solving. Real problems. A genuine skill directly addresses a specific, high-value problem under real market conditions. Moving beyond ambition. Ambition without repeatable competence is merely wishful thinking. Skill is the primary form of value the market can verify. Unproven versus misunderstood. Never mistake being unproven for being unfairly misunderstood. Foundation 3. Public proof. Concrete evidence, case studies, portfolios, completed projects, and clear before and after results. Creating leverage. Public evidence eliminates the need to beg, overpromise, or persuade through force of personality. Changing the room. Solid evidence alters how your capability is perceived before you even enter a negotiation. Foundation 4. Distribution and access. Building structural bridges. Developing deliberate, respectful channels that allow your skills and proof to reach decision-makers. Preventing hidden labor. High capability without distribution remains hidden labor. Talent without network bridges leads to frustration. Reciprocal value. Access is built not through desperate networking, but by exchanging clear insight, quality work, and mutual value. Foundation 5. Financial margin, capital. Capital as oxygen. Financial runway buys decision-making patience, the ability to reject bad deals, and protection against short-term panic. Avoiding desperation. Operating without margin forces you into short-term decisions that compromise long-term strategy. Securing freedom. Retaining capital buys back recovery time and independence, ensuring survival through market setbacks. Construction delay versus avoidance delay. Identifying the bottleneck. Locate your single weakest foundation, whether skill, proof, access, capital, or emotional control, and address it directly. True construction delay focuses on tangible outputs, building capital, refining a core skill, generating measurable results, and shipping work. Avoidance delay disguises fear of exposure as preparation, consuming endless content, collecting notebooks of plans, and polishing ideas that never launch. The 90-day focus strategy. To prevent unfocused motion, select one primary bottleneck for the next 90 days. Emotional bottleneck. Execute in silence for 90 days. Stop announcing plans or seeking approval. Skill bottleneck. Dedicate 90 focused hours to mastering a single commercially viable capability. Proof bottleneck. Build and publish one clear, documentable case study or project. Access bottleneck. Initiate 20 high-value, reciprocal professional conversations. Capital bottleneck. Establish a strict runway target, automate savings, and cut financial leaks. Architectural sovereignty. Accepting the task. Stop racing someone else's inheritance and focus on building your required architecture. Durability over speed. A slower, manually constructed foundation takes longer to complete, but creates a structure that is far more difficult to displace. The final rule: speed is impressive, but foundations determine what survives.